'Tis the season to shine with H&M. Discover the holiday collection and find fashionable pieces for your wardrobe or for under the tree. Get inspired and dazzle with this year's glam. From tuxedo styles, bow detailed pieces, impressive prints, and more. From unforgettable looks to unforgettable gifts. With fashion finds to home decor, find it all at H&M. Treat your loved ones and yourself this season. Shop in-store or at hm.com.
Bienvenidas al podcast Dos Bold Latinas. Aquí están sus hosts, Jatna Abreu
y Rosibel Madera Vialet, dos latinas feministas born in Santo Domingo y in New York.
Passionate about Latina empowerment, Spanglish,
learning, growth, and so much more.
Hola mujeres y bienvenidas a episodio número 4 de nuestro podcast. Definitivamente nos tomó más tiempo de lo normal grabar este episodio porque, como ya saben, these are unprecedented times and it really never crossed our minds that we would have to start doing everything we're used to doing all at once while unable to get out of the house and, actually go to work, to the actual office and do things outside. It has definitely been a time where we have been tested in so many levels, and we're still here learning to balance it all out. El episodio de hoy va a ser liderado por Rosibel, la cual les va a dar una lista de pasos e ideas de cosas que pudieran estar haciendo mientras estamos en cuarentena y las cuales podrían ayudarles si algo como esto volviera a pasar, que esperemos que no. Pero también les dará algunas de sus propias reflexiones con respecto a esta situación. Pero antes de que Rosibel empiece, yo solamente quería decirle que personalmente, para mí, este año, ha sido un total fiasco. Porque aunque sé que debo estar agradecida con Dios, lo cual estoy, don't get me wrong, I'm really blessed and I'm really thankful, porque tengo un trabajo en el cual todavía puedo hacerlo de la casa. Tengo comida, un techo y mi familia está sana y saludable. ¿Qué mejor que eso? ¿Qué mejor pedir que eso? Pero como quiera, estoy un poquito resentida, pudiera decir, porque tenía grandes planes para este año. Como por ejemplo celebrar mis 30 años en París y que la construcción de mi casa estuviera lista a tiempo, entre otras cosas. Entonces, no necesariamente se dio como yo quise, pero solo me la he pasado tratando de pretty much like stay sane and keeping up with my routines as much as I can, which has been the hardest thing to do because I feel like I'm an employee, a mom, a wife, and a lot of other things all at the same time while being home. So it is extremely difficult to keep up. And it has been very challenging for me to take the time to reflect as much as Rosie has been able to do, which I'm thankful for because I will also take advantage of what she's sharing with us today. And so we can all be prepared, and if this happens again, so pa'lante mujeres, que para atrás solo para tomar impulso. This too shall pass, and we will overcome all of this soon. With that said, I will turn it over to Rosie to walk us through her steps y reflexiones from this situation. So take it away, Rosie.
Gracias, Jatna. Espero que todas estén muy bien, mis chicas queridas. Y les digo que sí ha sido una situación única, como ya la sabemos todas. Pero me siento contenta. Hoy por primera vez me puse perfume. Le estaba diciendo a Jana, like, I have to put on perfume and something to get in the mood and to get excited. Because it's been a time of reflections, and what I'm going to share with you guys now is just a couple of things that been coming to mind, things that I've been reflecting, that I just thinking if something similar were to happen again, this is how I want to be prepared. And also little things that I've been doing to try to stay sane, as Jana was saying earlier. So number one, what is my financial plan for another similar situation or just overall? So I would challenge all of us to ask us that question to ourselves. What financial plan are we going to have for this? So are we going to have a 3 to 6 months savings? Do we know? I mean, I do know it is very hard. And then budgeting and financial planning is one of the new habits to create if we don't have that yet. As Latinas, we grow up not knowing de que, oh, mija, you should go get a financial planner. Like, no, never. I've heard of that because my parents are entrepreneurs, but if not, outside of that, that's not a norm for us. So I think it is really important for us to know how to budget and how to have that financial planner, to have someone in our lives that could guide us through that, because they really do open up our eyes. And I have friends that also think the same thing. I was just talking, so shout out to our friend Crystal. She also said, yeah, see, it is true. Like yo nunca crecí que alguien me dijera, go get a financial advisor. Y eso me abrió a mí tanto los ojos cuando yo fui a hablar con un financial advisor. Esas fueron las palabras de ella. Y realmente también ha sido para Jana y también para mí, que casualmente este lunes tengo mi segunda reunión con un financial advisor, porque ahora mismo yo digo, como yo voy a comenzar a cortar costos, que realmente yo pueda invertir en algo que es más importante, porque uno está acostumbrado a comprar cosas que uno realmente no necesita, y en estos momentos uno se está dando cuenta de lo que realmente es necesario y lo que uno a veces nada más lo compraba porque lo quería o porque se veía bonito. So se trata de analizar esa parte ahí.
So, Rosie, I do want to add one thing though. So it's true that the 3 to 6 months savings is very important. And as Rosie said, yeah, growing up, nobody really told us that like we needed to plan as Hispanics and as women, that we needed to plan for our future and think about our finances. But the one thing that like it's happening right now is that if this is one tip that, you know, I kind of learned lately when information came out about like student loans and COVID-19, and obviously like in these times, and not everyone has a job, and like people are trying to still, you know, figure out like how they're gonna feed their families and you know, just figure out the balance of everything and how they prepare themselves and continue to, you know, still provide. The one thing that came out though from the government was that like if you have federal student loans, which I know like Rosie does and I do as well, there's that one, the CARE Act. They actually did that I think last month, and so it goes from March 31st through September 30th. And so if you have student loans with the federal government, and I think obviously financial institutions, but at that point you kind of have to go back to them and figure out how that works with them. But I know that if you have like the actual government ones, you can go back to your account and then you will see that you have forbearance for the next few months until September 30th. So you will not have to make a payment until then. And then I think that, and there's no interest at all also. So two things I would say you could do. One is that if you have, you know, if you don't have that emergency fund built up right now that, you know, Rosie was talking about, the 3 to 6 months, or just like $1,000 emergency fund, I think this would be a good time to take the money that you're putting towards your student loans right now and build up that emergency fund, so then that you can go back to continue to pay your student loans. Or I would say that you can always continue to pay your student loans and maybe add a little more if you're able to, since the payments are going into the principal now instead of the interest rates. So I would maybe look into that, just because it would be another way for you to still be able to be, you know, financially stable and have a little bit of cushion or more money for the future, and, you know, being able to not have to pay your student loans until September 30th. So that's one thing I just wanted to add, Rosie, because it's, you know, I know that a lot of people have student loans, especially like us Hispanics. I'm pretty sure that a lot of us are in the same boat. So if we could take those tips and make sure that we're caring for, for our finances and making sure that we prepare for the future, like I would, yeah, take advantage of that tip.
Yes, thank you, Jatna. And I mean, one thing that I'm doing is, I'm trying to add, yes, I'm still going to have to pay that starting in September. However, I said, well, why don't I since I'm blessed to still have a job, why don't I catch up on credit card payments? Because that's something that I said, okay, let me just see where I should really be putting that money into right now. So thank you, Jatna. And that's how I'm using it now. That's also another idea if that works out for you. So with that, that's exactly how it is. With that 3 to 6 month savings, let's just think of how we could give it a twist to be better prepared in another similar situation or just overall. So number 2, if you feel financially stable and know someone can use your help during these times, help them. Trust me, because it will help you take your mind off uncertainty, since you know that you're contributing to make the situation better and will encourage others to do the same. I think of as like just inspiring others to do the same. There's different donations that I have made to different people I see on social media and or people will direct contact me from social media and I just do it. Helping people, sending a little bit of something to family, for me in Dominican Republic and particularly. And that just gives me peace of mind because I'm just at home thinking, okay, what can I do? How can I help? And that really has helped me release some stress, knowing that I've been able to contribute in a small way. So hopefully that has had you thinking of how to contribute, give back. Yo lo pienso así, hoy por ti y mañana por mí. So moving on to number 3, for chicas, I hope many of you are freelancers, entrepreneurs. If not, let's think of this. If you have a business or freelance, do you have virtual presence? Is it an e-commerce business? Because if it's not, then now it is the time to build that platform, especially spending more time at home. Other things you could do is check in with your customers, even if your business is not operating, just to show that you care, to keep that connection with customers. Also create your personal brand on social media and provide free content to your customers or potential customers. They will appreciate it and will think of you once the need of your product or services occur. This way you could challenge yourself to have your business prepared for a similar situation, because contingency plans are always important. So with that said, it's just trying to open up your mind to think of what to do if you feel stuck right now. And it's totally normal to feel stuck, but just for people that are out there motivated to do so, that's something you could do. Number 4, if you have children, have you reflected upon how much connection and quality time you were able to spend with your children lately? I mean, because I just know I have. I know it is hard, and I have, well, he just turned 7, so he did have a unique birthday. I did learn how to have the cheapest birthday ever with no invites, and he still had a blast. So I'm going to keep that in mind for the upcoming years. But however, I have taught him, like now with having more peace and life has just slowed down, I actually taught him how to do dishes, how to sweep, how to mop, like all these things I never let him do, which in the past, to be honest, he has wanted to help. But I'm just like, no, yo no tengo tiempo para eso. I just want to get it done. You go do what you got to do. And this has really helped me reflect upon that. I have also learned how to balance the working from home and caring for my children. For example, how many of you have reflected that life has gone on and you have found a way to still have that meeting that you never thought that you could have virtually? that you always thought, no, that meeting, we can only have success if it's done in person. Now we're learning that it's possible. We really are turning the impossible to possible. So from after all of this, we get slowly start getting back into our normal routines. I want to ensure that we also, once we have a big family event or a child school thing or just something important for our family, and we have also a scheduling conflict with work, there's this meeting I cannot miss, because we always somehow we think every single meeting is super important and the world's gonna end if we don't go. So I just want to start thinking about that. That's something I've been starting to think about, that I could be more involved with my children and my family, because there are things I could start doing virtually, since it's something we are learning now. And we're figuring it out, and it has been working out slowly. So with that in mind, let's start having more family dinners, and let's start being more involved with our children. Like now more than ever, like on my vision board, and I know Jana did too, it was having more family dinners. And now, without me even thinking about it, we actually are automatically doing more family dinners. And just seeing of all the conversation that comes out of that, seeing that my son, that he's a picky eater, he actually is eating all his food. I think it's motivating him, seeing mommy and daddy sit down at every single meal now to eat with him.
Rosie?
Yes.
So you know what? Now that you mentioned the vision board stuff, I the one thing that I do have to say, that out of everything I put on my vision board for 2020, which by the way will probably have to carry over to 2021. So meaning we might not have to do a vision board for 2021 because we didn't really complete all of the things we needed to do in 2020. The one thing that I do have to say that we were able to accomplish in 2020 more than like ever is just spending time with the family and actually sitting down and having family dinners together, like lunches or breakfast or everything family related that we had put on our vision boards. Like it's truly happening now. So we have to be thankful for that. But, other than that, everything else, we're just going to have to be, we just have to postpone it to next year and be like, okay, so I'll have to, work on these things, put it out again on 2021, maybe tweak it a little bit. But thankfully, I think that's the one thing that matters the most, though, that we've been able to spend time with the family. And it's the one thing that I would say, like, I don't take for granted, because we usually, like, for us to put that on a vision board to say, like, oh my gosh, like we have so many routines and we live on a day-to-day, like there's a lot of things happening in our lives, like work-wise or, just things that we have to do in general. And we really don't take the time, except for maybe the weekends, to like actually sit down and have like a family dinner. And so now, that we're doing that, it's like, wow, like I am actually thankful for that, because it's something that we just never thought about and haven't been able to do. So I just wanted to, plug that in.
No, thank you. Yes. And it is that way, that also. And I'm also grateful of how, because my husband, he's an essential worker. So he is still out there working, but not as much. And I do like of how we call him like, hey, we're going to eat. So it's like, he still does have that flexibility a little bit. And he's been making it more to family dinners, which before it wasn't really a priority. So I do like how it has really shifted our mindset. And for my son, he is going to also have to change a lot of plans for 2021. Like this year, Jana was supposed to be in Paris for her 30th. My son was supposed to be at Disney World for his birthday. And I had to do everything he wanted at home. So he made me another thing of having that quality time. We actually baked our first cake for the first time ever. Like I never thought I would find myself baking something from scratch. And I feel like
you learned a new skill, Rosie. You learned a new skill.
Like we've been making brownies, guys. Like I'm like, I told Jana one day, I'm like, I think I can now be a stay-at-home mom, because I hear the whole stigma thing, like they like to bake and all of this stuff, and I never thought I would find myself doing that. He chose to do a rainbow cake, guys. A rainbow cake. a rainbow cake, you gotta have like 6 different pans for that, and food coloring and all this mixing. And I thought it was gonna be not good, but it actually worked out. And it was just like, it was a small cake, and like it was just us, and he just really enjoyed them, because his thing was like, how was your birthday, Max? Like when, like, it was funny of how his aunt and cousins called him from Florida, like, yeah, we're so, like, it's so weird, we're calling you right now when you were supposed to be here with us at Disney World. But he's like, yeah, but I baked the cake and it was rainbow and it was so good. So I'm just seeing of how all these little things for our children, they're so important. So once they grow up, they're not going to think about all the stress that we had as adults. They're going to think about these little moments. Like I'm sure that when he grows up, he's not going to remember that he will remember, yeah, he wasn't at Disney World, but he's going to have that highlight of his moment. Like, I baked a cake with my mom and it was good. So, and that's something that we have never done. And that's something I will always say no to. And now, of course, I feel obligated to say yes, but I actually felt the motivation to do it. So that's just something also for us to think about, of how we have reflected to have that connection and quality time with our children. So that moves us on to number 5. Haven't you felt like there has been a reset button hit for the world? Because I know I did. And I have learned to slow down and cherish what is most important. And like I've been talking about it now, it is family. I have witnessed how we all have found ways to take care of our families. With hectic lifestyles, we have to come to believe that it's normal for us to put work and social meetings before ourselves and families. So with that in mind, I challenge you to ask yourself, what are you going to start prioritizing now? And I mean it. I know we all say we will do things, and we do it once we do it, and once we break the cycle for whatever reason and think it's okay. So with all of that in mind, we always give ourselves like, yeah, we're going to start taking care of each other. We're going to have more healthy meals and drink more water, take vitamins, exercise. So with that, I really want to start thinking, are we going to start eating healthier? Are we going to start drinking more water? Are we going to start taking our vitamins? Are we going to start exercising? Are we going to start choosing a hobby for self-care, etc.? Like right now, with that reset button, is because we have to really slow down and think about what is the most important things in our lives. What do we really need to prioritize to have that quality of life that we were made to have? Moving on to number 6, relationships. And when I say relationships, it could be a friend, a spouse, colleagues, relatives. I would challenge all of us to really reflect on which ones add value to our lives and actually care. Because during these times, we should show gratefulness for those which supported us and ensure to keep up with the relationship even after we go back to our busy schedules. For example, one of our biggest relationship, which I know has been growing so much from what I have witnessed, is was it more time spent with God? Are you finding yourself doing that more? And if you are, then let's keep that time with Him in our lives, because it is possible. I know that we wake up and sometimes the first thing we grab is our phones. I'm guilty of that. And it's just changing little habits of having the phone being in a separate room and having something else by your nightstand or by your bed, whatever it is. And to just have a book or a journal, something that you could wake up and start having that connection with who you want it to be. If it's with yourself, it's with God, but having something else that really adds that extra of gratefulness for waking up to be on another day alive, waking up that you're still in health, and waking up next to your family. That is something really of how we should be caring about our relationships with ourselves, or God, and other people that we are close to. So moving on to number 7, vulnerability. So are you vulnerable? If so, Embrace how vulnerable you are. I know that I am maybe way too much, but if not, then don't numb those feelings or emotions. Don't do other things to make those feelings non-existent. Be grateful and love yourself and others. Remember, you are enough with whom you authentically are. Sé tú auténtica tú. Realmente tú tienes que ser vulnerable y enfrentar esas emociones que tú tienes y encontrar a alguien con quien compartir eso. Que a veces no siempre tiene que darte un consejo, pero estar ahí para escucharte. So with that, there's this a TEDx that I saw, and we'll have this episode link into our description of this episode, but it's titled The Power of Vulnerability. It's by Brene Brown, and she's a researcher who hated vulnerability. So I feel like it really connects with all of us, with us that are vulnerable and people that are not, because it helps us understand each other, helps us understand why someone reacts to different emotions different way. Or when we're talking to them, you feel like, why did they not even say anything? Like, it sounds like they don't care. But it's not that they don't care. It's just how they react to emotions. So, chicas, esas fueron 7 reflexiones, tips, como uno quiera ver, que ha estado yo viendo, incorporando en mi vida, o son cosas que yo he estado queriendo hacer poco a poco. Pero recuerden, it's also okay to not do a single one of these tips. Your mental health comes first. It's okay to just focus on surviving in a healthy manner with your family each day. I often wish I had a structure of my life while at home, thinking I was going to have all the time now to develop a routine. And some days it happens and some days it doesn't, because it's life and we're living under times that we never thought that we could be living under. So we're just going to take it one day at a time. But here's one thing I do want to ensure we do, is to find someone, as I was saying before, find someone we trust to talk to. That person doesn't have to give you advice. They just need to be there to listen. While you vent or talk to that person, you will let loose those emotions. We all have been having our good and bad days. So let's ensure we have someone to share our day with. For me, I literally just send a voice note, and then that person just listens and doesn't always have to give me a consejo. They don't always have to reply also. And this is something I know that's super weird because I am a weirdo. But sometimes I will record a voice note and I won't even send it. It's just to take that, para sacarme ese pique out of my system, to just take that anger out of my system, to just take that emotion out of my system. I just want to make sure that we're all finding a way to stay, as Jana said earlier, sane, and to find that balance. For example, I have 2 kids, and one of them, I'm supposed to be teaching his first grade lesson plans. And believe me, I have not been completing all those lesson plans with him. For example, like, I feel like having those Zoom and Google Hangouts meetings during the week a couple of times, sometimes I feel like that's enough. But I'm blessed to be working from home. But trust me, I feel like I have been losing brain cells from all the chaos at home, with the kids being home 24/7 and having to juggle all of that, the lesson plans with my son and my own work, and having a 1-year-old be on top of my head, while trying to balance all of that. And another thing that I feel that is something new and that I have to also find gratefulness for and positivity, that I want to share this because I'm sure there's a lot of us chicas that are out there right now feeling this way. So sometimes I feel like the cooking and dishes are never ending, and that sometimes my meals are not even appreciated from my family. But one thing I have had to learn is that whenever I'm in that state, con ese pique, just screaming and saying, oh my gosh, I'm turning into a monster, I try to every day to look forward to a new good day after a bad day. Since I reflect, I am grateful to be at home, safe and healthy with my family. I also want to share on how it is okay to have a nervous breakdown, because sometimes when we're thinking of our loved ones as essential workers being our heroes, and for example, I am sometimes at home watching a movie, eating popcorn with my family, and it would just hit me. For example, I started thinking of how my parents, which are older, they're being exposed working for our community. And yeah, I try to be positive and everything, but I'm gonna admit I do break down. I still do worry, and I still think like I should be the one working there instead of my parents, because they're a lot more at risk than I am. But right now, it's like my priority is to actually be the mom that I need to be, and to just think that it's in God's hands, and that as long as we're all taking all the precautions that we need to do, that we're gonna be taken care of, and just accept the challenges and life events that are thrown at us. Because, like, for example, another thing that has been super hard for me is it's been 5 weeks that this whole quarantine and precautions have been going on, that I don't give my dad a hug or a kiss. And for me, that is so weird, because we're the very lovey, touchy. I say some papi 10 times a day, or give him a kiss 10 times a day if I see him 10 times a day. But I haven't been able to do that. Or my kids. Like, my kids, I've only been seeing him on video call. But at least I do get to see him from a distance. And I feel like sometimes that makes it harder, because like, oh, okay, I'm not seeing someone, so I'm not hugging or kissing them. But knowing that they're there, and that you just have to pause, and sometimes, yes, the most I'll give is like de codo a codo, like así nos saludamos. So I just wanted to share those personal things, just to show my vulnerability, and that was the last step. And to also show that, yes, I shared all these things that we could be doing that sound positive, but that we're all living these scary moments, and that we all are fearful at sometimes. But to also, just for us that are at home, I really do, that we're not out there. We're not if we're not a healthcare worker. If you're a healthcare worker, I want to give a huge shout out to you. You guys are our heroes, and all of our other essential workers that are out there. So I just really want to thank all of you guys for that.
Agreed.
And so with all of this, I just hope we all have been taking a positive twist from our difficult situations to turn things around we thought were impossible to possible. So thank you for joining us today. Stay strong. Las quiero y abrazos. Chao. Hasta la próxima.
Nos vemos en el próximo episodio, chicas. Bye.